and they do all this testing, and come to find out I have stage 4 colorectal cancer. They send me home, and I'm scheduled for surgery like week and a half to 2 weeks later. And during this time, um, my dog has a seizure. He's 13 years old. He's been my life buddy, and we had to put him down 4 days before my cancer surgery, and that was a tough one.
What was your dog's name?
Buddy, I named him
Uh,
Buddy, and I think they knew that I had enough to deal with and struggle with that they thought it was best to put him down. And so that was a tough one. I was thankful my kids were with me and went with me to take him to the vet. And we put him down. It was a struggle. I find that hard because they want you to pay after you put your dog down. I was a basket case. Luckily, my son uh, said, "Go out to the car, Mom, I'll take care of it." I was so thankful for that time.
and this was happening during your diagnosis?
Yes, I got diagnosed, and then I knew I was having surgery, and then we took him to the vet. And so, like I said, it was 4 days before my surgery that we put him down. And like I get emotional talking about that because that was tough.
It's okay.
And so, before I have my surgery, I have a talk with my kids because, like I said, I'm 7 months into going through a divorce. Which also I need to mention that I do a lot of my own, you wanna call it lawyering? I did a lot of my own filing papers, gone to court by myself, had that on my plate, and, so I have a talk with my children about where everything was and how proud I am of them, because you never know how it's gonna turn out. And so, but I go in.
All 3 of these things were going on at the same time?
Yep. This was probably after I put the dog down. I think the day before I was going into surgery, I had to talk with my kids. And they were like, "Oh, Mom, don't say that." I was like, "Well, I have to. You don't know what's going to come of it. You need to know where things were." And I wanted to tell them how proud I was of them. And I thought, you know, um, if this is what's supposed to happen, God put me in this, and they just graduated college, and they were ready to be on their own, and I knew they would do very well for themselves. And so I was able to keep a positive mind and move forward knowing that they would be okay. Long story short, I had my surgery, and here I am. 10 years later. It was just 10 years on, uh, actually, I think November 15th. I made it 10 years. And, so we'll go back to the day of my surgery. Uh, my doctor who did the surgery, like to give a lot of credit. His name is Dr. DeVos at the Reading Hospital. They had to have a meeting before my surgery because they didn't know if they should give me chemo first or radiation to shrink it, or just go in and do the surgery and take it. But because apparently where it was at, I guess was difficult. It was a large mass, and they weren't sure, how to go about it. So we had a meeting with other doctors. He came in and said, "They're just gonna do the surgery. I don't need any radiation." So again, thankful for that. So I come out, and my doctor said he would not be around. His partner would be coming in to see me after the surgery because he was going to be. I had my surgery on a Friday or a Thursday or Friday, and he was going away for that weekend, so he wouldn't be around out of town. So his partner came in to see me, which I've never met him, and I was walking around in a swimsuit cover up. So he didn't recognize me, and I was walking around, and he says to me, "Are you the patient?" I said, "Yeah, why?" And he said, "Oh, well, I'm Dr. DeVos's partner. I came in to check on you." He said, "We've never had any patients walking around this soon after the type of surgery you just had." I was like, "Oh, well, that's good news. Here I am." And, he talked to me, and the next day, walking down the hall with the nurse, and she says, "Oh, your doctor's here, Dr. DeVos." It's like, "No, he was gonna be out of town." She's like, "Well, he's behind us." And I was like I turned around and I was, like, in shock, like, there is this tall doctor all dressed in a suit. I was like, "What are you doing here?" He says, he said, "I had to come see you." He said, "My partner said, 'This is like, you're our miracle patient.'" He's like, "I just couldn't believe it." He said, "I came in to see you." So he is so good. He had such bedside manners. He sat down with me. I think he was there for like an hour and just talked, and it was just very nice. Next thing you know, that was Saturday. He comes in again on Sunday after church and sat down with me for like an hour. It's like they were in awe, like how well I was doing. And that was just amazing to me. Such a good feeling, though, too. I think I ended up being in there only 4 days, maybe 3. I'm not even sure.
What were some of the thoughts you were having during this process, this duration, from the beginning of your diagnosis all the way through to recovery?
Well, kind of like what I mentioned a little earlier, I'm always a positive thinker. I never really tried to get down. I can remember one time I was driving, I came to a red light, and I literally kind of gave myself a pity party for probably 2, 3 minutes, seconds, I don't know, cried, quickly stopped because I thought, "You know what, Connie? My kids are grown. God put me in this position for some reason." And I always thought of the kids who have cancer. I'm like, I have no reason to complain. There's kids who have cancer. I'm thankful I made it this long. I'm thankful my kids have graduated. I was able to see them. So I always try to find the positive in everything. And that's how I am to this day. So more positive about everything. As soon as I get a negative thought, I'm like, "No, there's something positive. There's always something positive when there's something going on." And I've become so positive that I hate negativity. So that was that point beforehand. And like I said, then I spoke to my kids because you never know. But I did pray to God and prayed to God before when I was on the table that, everything would go well because I didn't want to be negative because that never brings out good results. It was nerve-wracking because now I'm going through a divorce, and if I pass, well, then he gets everything. Didn't really want to think about that, so that only entered my mind for a second, and I just go in with good thoughts and thank God I am where I am. And so that was what all went there. So then after the surgery and he talked to me, I found out not only did they take out the cancer itself, they took out additional 40 lymph nodes around the whole area, and hopefully that it was nowhere else. So that's kind of scary. And then I had to live for 5 years after that, where they tell you, because I'm thinking, why do you even tell me this? They're like, if cancer comes back within 5 years, this type of cancer, there's really no hope. Does that make sense? It comes back, and now all of a sudden there's no hope. So I kind of live with a little, I don't know, fear for the next 5 years. Not a whole lot, because like I told you, as soon as I have a negative thought or I would think about that, I just thought, "No, I'm day by day and think positive, and it is what it is." So, but likely, like I said, I made it 5 years, and now I'm on to 10 years, just I think 2 days ago. November 15th, I think, was my surgery 10 years ago.
Did they give you a survival chance at the beginning of all this?
Uh, I don't know if they did. I don't remember that. Yeah, but I know, like you said, afterwards, it's kinda scary knowing it was stage 4, knowing it was a difficult spot, knowing they didn't know if they should get surgery and if they could take it, if there was other issues that were apparently it was a difficult surgery because he had to talk whether they were gonna shrink it or if they could take it out the way it was or where it was. I don't know about that stuff. But and then they took additional 40 lymph nodes, which they say when it comes, if it does come back, sometimes I think, is it your lungs or your liver? I forget which one. It will come back into there, and usually then that's why it's just not. Um, so, um,
Would you say this gave you a, different perspective on life or a new outlook on life, or has it changed your thought process at all?
I don't think my thought but other than made me more positive, I've always was a positive person. I have a lot of empathy for everything, and so it made me a more positive person. Like I said, I really hate negativity, and anybody I talk to negative, I really say, "Oh, I'll throw out a positive. Think it's somebody else worse off than you. There's a better issue than that." I try to tell people just to smile, and sometimes you'd be surprised you're having a down moment or just put a smile on your face. It's amazing how that changes how you feel inside. And I kind of live by that. I'm a very positive person and live like that. I don't want to say I'm more grateful for life, but um, I guess I am.
And in
Um,
the midst of all this you had 2 other things going on. You put your dog down, and you were in the middle of a divorce.
yeah. So I'm filing papers to go in and out of court. I'm doing all my the one was like the if anybody's gone through a divorce, there's the master, where you gotta split up everything. It's like a 10-page thing. I did all that work myself. I did all the typing. I submitted to the court, showed up in court myself, and when I needed a lawyer, I hired one. When I didn't need a lawyer, I fired one, then I'd get another lawyer. Um, so, yeah, I've done a lot of work. Also going through that after my surgery, uh, I was, uh, going before my surgery, I find out my one son is going to have a baby. I'm gonna be a grandmother, so now I'm living with that on my plate. So after surgery now, he moves out, my other son moves out, so not only did I go through 7 months of the divorce, I have the surgery, dog puts down, gonna have a grandchild, 2 kids move out, I'm going through empty nest. It's like, what else can I have on my plate? In the midst of all that, so going through menopause, it put me into instant menopause, so now I'm dealing with all those added health issues, the night sweats, the gain weight a little bit, um, somewhat probably slight depression coming in with all the added health issues and life issues. It was just really hard to deal with. So, um, and added that I have, I'm such an, have a lot of empathy, a lot more than I think most people. I don't say most people, a lot of people have very empathy. And then I allow myself to get hurt a lot. And that's been tough to deal with because I like to explain things. I like to be understood and heard. And uh, some people I don't think understood all that I was going through. And so, with my kids moving out and having a grandson, and it was just tough trying to live on your own, knowing that I was only a school bus driver, I only worked part time. Now, going through all this, I have to worry about how am I going to go interview for a full time job. It was just like talking about it is breathless, takes my breath away. It's just like, wow, how did I do all that?
That's my question for you. What kept you going through everything?
People would always say to me, one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, and actually, I always heard one day at a time, and I would just get so frustrated. Sometimes, I mean, I did have high anxiety going through the divorce, something I never wanted to do. I did go get some medication, but I really didn't wanna take it, so I would only take it, like, a day when I just couldn't grasp myself from crying and hyperventilating, and I might take a pill one day and then skip days because I wanted to just make my feel like I was strong and I could handle it and take one day at a time, and people would always say that, and I'd be like, "What do they mean one day at a time?" Like, "Yeah, that's easier said than done, like, you have no clue what I'm going through." But I would use that every day. I'm like, "Okay, take my deep breaths, breathe, do what they say, get myself together." Okay, and then I'd get busy, and then I have a struggle again. One day it's like, "I don't know, they keep saying this, I guess I'll get through it, everybody else does." And so It does. It does work out that way, one day at a time, and, I guess you just learn to relax. Um the pain never goes away, but I guess the days make it easier, and I was always a kind, like I said, empathy, be kind, be nice to people. I'm very thank God I'm very sociable, did a lot of networking, and things turned around. I ended up finding a job, got a full-time job, and I'm more independent and made me a different person. So, it's just kind of amazing when I tell the story. Like, I never really think about all this at once. Now that I'm talking about it, it is like, wow, it's amazing. Life is amazing.
Can you elaborate on the divorce at all
Uh,
during all this?
um, trying to think because that could really be another story in itself, but, it was hectic, but I think that's also what helped me do the now that you asked that question, it kind of makes me think maybe that's helped got me through the one day at a time. It gave me something else to focus on. Not that it was good, but it was better or easier than cancer. Focusing on my divorce, saving myself money, filing all my papers, following up on stuff. I like reading stuff. I always like to learn stuff. I'm very like to pick up new knowledge. So I got really I learned a lot about the court system, how unfair it is. I learned to play the lawyer's games of, they'll file paper at you. And I actually had one lawyer that was very helpful, and he told me one time, you know what? Go in and try to fight it yourself. If you feel like you're losing the battle, he's like, you just tap your hand down and say, hey, you know what? I think I want to get a lawyer. He says, I want to, what's the word he used? Appeal it or whatever and come back and do it. So then I would try to fight something myself if I thought I was on the losing end. I just said, "Hey, I'm going to get a lawyer. We'll come back here. Appeal. I guess it's appeal the order or whatever." And then I would go get a lawyer, and then I used him for or her for whatever I needed. And then when I felt comfortable, I fired that lawyer and I did the paperwork myself on another issue. And I don't know. I found I don't wanna say intriguing, but I liked learning that system and found out how the court system is. One time I had an order against me that you, were in contempt of court. Like, yeah. Well, I learned what a joke that is. They never hold anybody in contempt of court. So it was in contempt of court because I think I had to give something back that he left there or something like that. And so I learned to play the system. I didn't have a lawyer. He cheated on me. So, yes, I was angry and frustrated. So I just thought, I played the lawyer system. I upped his lawyer fees because he needed a lawyer and he used a lawyer for every phone call, every letter there was. I was making my own phone calls. I was writing my own paperwork. I would show up at his lawyer's office with the paperwork, ask them to sign it that I dropped it off. So I had records. So I didn't even mail it, take the chance of them saying they didn't get who knows what they could play. I dropped it off myself, asked them to sign it, and, would go on from there, and, it was a good learning experience, saved myself a lot of money and came out ahead on that, so that might've helped me, move that do that one day at a time because I had other issues to deal with. I didn't wanna lose my house, I didn't wanna lose anything else. Um, yeah, it's just yeah, I could talk on that and help people through the lawyer system, how it's just a money game for them. They really don't even care about your story. Because I literally helped 2 other people with their lawyer cases. One had to do with a job that I worked at, and, I filed all the subpoena papers for her, and we went to lawyer, and I basically had to really did all the paperwork, the story I don't wanna say told the story the way it was. We literally went to one lawyer one time, um, the first time, and he told us that that he opened up a book and he's reading in it and he's saying, "No," I forget if he said, "No, you don't have a case," or, "No, that's not how it is." And I was vehement, like, "Yes, it is. You're not reading it right." Like, I knew I don't know, there's just some things common sense plays more into this than anything else. So, long story short, without getting a lot into that, that's another story in itself, but, um, you can't I didn't trust the Lord, I didn't believe him, he was lying to us, got rid of him, fought the papers myself. We even took subpoenaed people from the school district, and we won the case. But anyway, that was another story with, I have a lot of experience with the lawyer system. So,
You said there was a second case you helped with?
yeah, there was someone else I helped with, their divorce papers, went into the lawyer to talk to him, and, um, I found out that he was a friend or this lawyer was in the office. At one time, they were partners in a lawyer firm, and now they were separate. This lawyer had his own office who had the divorce papers written up. And he didn't wanna fight him, like, he felt like, "Oh, as a friend," like, "I'm not sure you have a case here." I got up off the chair, I went behind the lawyer's desk, and I'm pointing, I'm like, "It's in black and white, this is what it says." He's like, "Well, I don't know." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know? This is what it says." Like, they just try to if you do not have a backbone, you don't feel comfortable about what you're fighting for, and you don't wanna stand up to yourself, they're not there to help you. I fought that case. I told him it was black and white, this is what it says, and basically fought to go in there. And I told my friend, "This is gonna come out 2 ways," because he was nervous about this. I said, "It's gonna be they know that, when they get in there," I said, "the judge will pull up the 2 lawyers, and they're gonna go back in the room. They're gonna read, 'What are we here for?' He's gonna look at it and say, 'This is how it is.' We can go out and fight it, but the same outcome is gonna come, or you might have a case." Well, guess what? The lawyers came back out. The judge told him that, "You know what? It's black and white. We can have a hearing, but it's gonna come out the same way. It's black and white. This is what it says." And my friend won that case. I I told him that's the way it was gonna be. He didn't even have to get up and say anything. So, again, I just learned a lot. I know the system, but,
I guess there was some bankruptcy stuff going on at the same time?
yeah, through the div trying to think when that was. So, it was after my surgery, um, I'm trying to think, no, it was before my surgery. It was before the surgery, I believe. Um, we were kinda talking, didn't know if, we would get back together or not, but found out that um had a lot of, credit where we had no c we hadn't we were out of debt altogether, but he went and got his own credit card, and his name was on one of mine, and he had charged stuff on that, um, at the same time he had his own credit card. Well, he ended up wanting to file bankruptcy because my name was on one of the cards. Um, I was sort of included, but I did not file bankruptcy, but I had to go to court with him to get myself cleared and removed. So in the meantime, this one credit card company sent me a letter that I owed this much money and I refused to pay it. So they took me to court. So I showed up at court by myself as usual. And we were the only ones sitting in there. And the guy from the credit card company said, "Oh, are you Connie?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "So what are you here for? The credit card co" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "We never had anybody do this before." I said, "Well, I'm not just that any old person." I said, "When I truly believe in something and something's not fair," I said, "Our system is not fair how they treat people going through a divorce." I said, "The husband cheats on you, can charge up your card, and I'm supposed to be responsible for that?" And I'm like, "No, it's not happening on my watch." And so we go into the judge because that was just out in the waiting room. He talked to me. So we go into the judge and I tell him my issue. And he worked it out with the credit card company. And I did not have to pay his fees. They asked me what I wanted to pay. So I basically literally said, I knew what he charged, but I thought with all that I'm going through, and this is BS, to put it bluntly, I picked an amount that was even less than what I had, like less than what, I had to pay less than what he actually charged. So, uh, cleared myself and I had to pay, a little bit less than what I actually owed. I'm like, I'm gonna at least benefit somehow out of this. But again, I did benefit. I didn't have a lawyer. I did it all by myself, showed up. Just
What gives you or gave you the courage to do both that and the divorce on your own? Was it the courage? Was it pure just will or desperation?
um, I'm a fighter and I'm not gonna let people first of all, I work part-time. I really didn't have money. So that added to the fact that I'm a fighter. I think logically, I have common sense. I do have a lot of empathy, and I I fight for what's right, the common sense, and, um, that's frustrating to me more than anything, just like a whole political thing going on. It's just common sense, being honest, truthful. How can you lose? I'm not I just had to try. I had to try and it was a learning experience and I actually enjoyed it. It gave me even more confidence, more knowledge. I learned a lot, even talking to the judge. And then he took me in the back after that whole credit card issue and he talked to me and he says, "I know you want to do this on your own." He said, "But people like this," he says, "you need to get a lawyer then because they can um, try to really make your life miserable." I thought that was very nice of that judge, and that was Judge what's his Schmale or whatever in Muhlenberg, so, um, you have people on your side, you speak up, you be honest, truthful, they know that I was honest, sincere person, and, just trying to do the right thing, and, uh, like I said, if I could make a difference for anybody else, I'm always there, that's my thing, my goal is, always help other people. Another thing our system does wrong, if you don't mind me saying since we got onto that topic, is like, as you're going through divorce and the man has the health insurance and the woman, is on their health insurance until you get a divorce. Well, going through all that cancer stuff, I had to go get blood work. Well, in the meantime, the company changes who you can get your blood tests from. Well, who thinks to call every time you have to go to get blood tests? Who to go to? When I've gotten blood tests before for my yearly exams and everything else, I went to the same place. Well, I found out they changed their labs who you can use, so now I get charged for blood work because our system don't make them notify the spouse because it's not my insurance. There's so much corruption.
Before we go further into that, which we can then, I just wanted to backtrack, and I believe that the credit card debt was pretty easily wiped away without much effort, correct? It was pretty easy?
Yeah, we did go to a bankruptcy lawyer. He paid for that. It was $1,000. And again, I wanted to go with because I like learning stuff so I could help the next person or how this whole system works. And it's amazing. You go in there, you go into a room that's no bigger than probably a 10 by 10 room, and there's like 50 people in there. And we have, quote, a time that we're supposed to talk to these bankruptcy lawyers or judges or whatever they were. And I'm thinking, how we got the time to do that? I started timing them. Everybody goes in and out within 7 minutes. They put a little computer in front of you, tell you to read down I think it was 7 questions, answer yes, no, blah, blah, blah. Boom, out of there. It's amazing. It's a joke how they just get away with that. Yeah, and what he did, which again, he cheated on me, his credit card debt was due to putting soffit and windows and doors and everything on the women's house in the women's house. and he got that all cleared, not paid, didn't have to pay off anything. Over $40,000 in credit card debt. And I don't understand how our system works there because he owned 2 vehicles and a motorcycle, and none of that's included.
Got to keep that.
Mhm. Very frustrating. Yeah.
So you were saying with the insurance and the lab work, does this have to do with, and I'm not sure if you wanted to talk about it, but your Lyme disease battle as well? Or is this separate?
No, that was separate. That had to do with me going to get the blood test for my, lab work for the cancer. Yeah. Yep, and they wouldn't pay for them, and I refused to pay for them. So I see how the system works, so I left it go on my credit card no, on my, um what am I thinking? Um, your credit score, what am I your credit report. I just left it go on my credit report. I'm like, "This is not fair. This is an unfair system." They can just change it on you. I would have gladly gone to the correct spot. I was like, "It's not that I don't have insurance, so that's not my problem. You go collect it from wherever." And I left it sit out there for 7 years, and it just kept swiped away. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it intentionally because we have a system that doesn't operate fairly. I mean, we're already going through divorce, dealing with a husband that cheats, and they allow that to happen. They don't have to notify the spouse. It's not my insurance. I'm just on it. It's his insurance. But yet they have to keep you on till you're legally divorced. But yet we don't have to get notified of anything. So what sense does that make? It doesn't even make it's not being honest and upfront. And that's what I struggle with, the honesty upfront. Common sense. It's just frustrating. Then you wonder why I'm a fighter. That just makes me more wanna fight stuff, question stuff. It's like I really truly use honesty, common sense. Everything I've ever went into, it's like common sense, um common sense. Just when I went through a divorce before with the kids that I had, I went to custody court without a lawyer. My sister said to me, like, "Connie, are you sure you want to do that? It's intimidating. Those judges are up there with their, capes on. That's intimidating." I'm like, uh, you're human beings like you and I. There's nothing intimidating unless you allow them to intimidate you. I'm not letting anybody intimidate me. It's common sense, being honest, being truthful, and I went in, and it was worked out fine. So, I'm a fighter in a sense, but I don't wanna make it in a negative way. I'm a fighter for common sense, honesty, and truth be told, and if it helps me and helps somebody else to get the word out there, that's what I'm all about. Yeah, been through a lot.
Definitely don't let the world get the best of you.
No.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
Uh, just be strong, stay truthful, be honest, and like I said, always keep a smile. You have a bad day, just put a smile on your face. It's amazing what it does.